Okay, in this video I'm going to show you how you can sew your elastic cord before you curl it in the microwave, and then take your piece of fabric and put the whole thing in the microwave, and then you don't have to worry about your cord twisting because you're actually going to heat it and shape it while it's in the fabric. Anyway, this is the last video I did, and I was telling you how I was going to be able to get the ruffles into that place where I sewed all my square knots in there. Well, I tied all my square knots. You're still going to have a little bit of space here where you can't get your smocking over to the middle, but by the time it's on the doll and it's in the back, so you're really not going to notice it all that much. But that was the smocking with that last video I did. Okay, so here I've got a piece of red rose fabric. It's 100% cotton. I've already pre-washed it. I've got this one cut about 8.5 by about 21.5, 22. It doesn't have to be. It depends on how long you want your doll's dress to be. This one I did 9 inches, and it's just right above her knees. The pink one I did was 8.5, and I had to lose a lot, so it ended up being like only 6. So by the time all is said and done, and you've sewn everything on a piece this big, you're only adding like 7 inches. So if you start with 8 inches, you're going to end up with a 6-inch dress. If you start with 9 inches, you're probably going to end up with a 7-inch dress. So by the time everything is said and done, you probably lose a couple inches in the length. So just adjust your length of whatever you're making to be how you want it by giving up 2 inches. So anyway, okay, here's my piece of fabric, and I'm not going to do anything but sew my fishing line onto the piece. I'm going to sew it on while it's in a straight position. I've got my hammer foot on. I've got my machine set for a zigzag. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my fabric and I'm going to sew it onto my fabric without it being curls. I'm just going to keep it straight. So I'm going to finger tuck my fabric. I've got my hammer foot on. I've got my machine set for zigzag. I've got my stitch set for 3.5, and I'm going to just finger tuck this here, and one little 1/4 of an inch, not even a quarter, about 1/8 of an inch. I'm going to do it twice, so I get a little curl there at the end, and I'm going to put this under my pressure foot. You might pin it if you need to. Okay, I'm going to put a couple stitches in. Get my thread out of the way. Okay, pick up and insert your fabric into the hammer. Okay, once it's in, press your foot down. Okay, fabric is inside my little curly leaf-shaped device there. I'm going to take my fishing line, and I'm going to insert it between the top fabric and the bottom fabric in that same little leaf shape. And I'm going to try and push my line in as far as I can get it. It'd be great if it would come out the other side, but usually it won't. It'll get stuck on those little bit of zigzags, your first zigzag. I'm going to cut this off and get it out of the way. Excuse me. Okay, so I'm going to turn my fabric over my over my fishing line, quarter of an inch, a little bit more, and I'm going to start sewing. I'm going to put some pressure on the fishing line so I make sure that it's going through the machine, and you can tell that it is going through the machine, otherwise it would back up on you. Okay, let's keep going. Okay, I feel it. Alright, so we're going to go slow though, because I've discovered that this is not one of those times that you want to just zip through on these things. So this is like one of those slow and easy does the job better. You can probably go ahead and fast forward through this. You know, I was thinking last night that if you make dresses with this fish line, if you can't wash them, because if you wash them and throw them in the dryer, the heat from the dryer is going to uncurl your fish line. So this is something you'd either have to wash by hand, or it's going to be like a one-time a non-washable item. I guess you could spot clean it if it got dirty, but this is one of those things that probably will never get washed. It's like shoes. They will get, if it gets dirty, it'll get thrown away before it gets washed. But it is definitely a cue. Alright, we're on the home stretch. Okay, I'm going to cut off my fish line. Cut it off. And there we go. We have our fish line enclosed inside our fabric, and we've got it covered up with the fabric. So that's very good. It actually sewed really well. Okay, so I'm going to take my dowel. So whatever dowel you use, make sure that it's not too wide so it will fit into your microwave with the fabric attached to it. So what you want to do when you're, cut some of this off, I have too much. When you wrap your dowel, make sure that the fabric with the fishing line is always on the top. you don't want to wrap the fabric over the fishing line. You want the fishing line over the fabric. Okay, so I tried it the other way and it didn't seem to, microwaves work from the inside out, but for some reason it works better when you, you know what, it might work better the other way, because the heat because the wood gets hot and that's what melts the, but I'll show you how I did it the first time this way. I hope my husband can get that. Alright, hold on, let me get the phone. Okay, so now I've got my fabric and I'm ready to curl it onto my my fabric, my fishing line, and I'm ready to curl it on my dowel. So I'm just going to take a piece of tape, just make sure it's long enough so it'll be able to curl around the wood and attach itself to the tape for extra strength. Okay, so I'm going to have my curling line go on top of each other over and over, just like I was curling it on a regular, just without the fabric. So put your you saved yourself a little bit of a catch so you can attach that to the wood when you cut it off with the machine. And I'm just going to do a roll of, I'm just going to continue to roll it, and I'm going to try and get my fish lines right next to each other so that I can get a continuous roll. Of course, your roll is going to get bigger and bigger because you're tucking all that fabric in there also. But just try and keep them as close as you can. And hold on to it because it's just like letting the string go. It will uncoil itself. Okay, so here we go. So what we can do now is put another piece of tape here, hold it down so it doesn't uncoil, and then just put your tape around. Okay, all microwaves are different, so I tried this 20 seconds and it wasn't enough, so I tried it for 30 seconds and it seemed to work well. So I'm going to go put this in the microwave for 30 seconds. Don't go any higher than 20 to 30 seconds because if you do, the wood's going to get too hot and it's going to scorch the fabric just like it was if you've ever scorched a popcorn container. You can see how it starts to smoke and you get those brown spots on the side. 20 to 30 seconds max. Okay, I'll be back when it's finished microwaving. Okay, I had a little episode. I put it in the microwave for 30 seconds and then I was in a hurry to finish taping this, so I turned around and didn't let it cool down enough, and this is what happened. So I pretty much wasted this because I was trying to save some time. So this is what you don't want to happen. So I did this 30 seconds and then I turned around and did it another 30 seconds. And it started to smoke, and I knew right away that I had overcooked it. I didn't because the microwave heats from the inside out, that wooden dowel got way too hot on my second attempt, and I should have known better, but I didn't. So if you don't want this to happen, I would either just sew with the coiled line prior to doing the microwaving, or if you do want to go with this technique, just make sure that you let your piece cool down completely before you nuke it again. Before you microwave it again. So this one I put on the microwave for 30 seconds, and then I let it cool completely. I could feel no heat in it whatsoever. So then I put it again, but this time instead of doing another 30 seconds, I did 20 seconds instead. And this is how it came out. So, like I said, you're going to have more curl towards the front than you will at the back, but by the time you sew them together, you're not even going to notice any difference in the curl dimension. So there we go from the microwave. You're going to get some wrinkles in there, so just take your iron and iron out your wrinkles. But that's one way you can do your fish line curls. Because of what happened here, I wouldn't suggest doing it this way. You can, but I wouldn't suggest it. I would curl the nylon ribbon fishing line by itself before I added the fabric. Or, since I said this isn't washable, I mean, you can wash it by hand and the curl will still stay, but you can use this technique and you'll get the same cute look just by using the elastic thread and not even using the fishing line. So what I did on this one is I did 3 gathers at the top, 3 gathers in the waist, and then I pulled those tight for the dress. And then for the bottom, I only did 1 row of stitching, and I used my widest my widest sewing stitch, and then I pulled it out as much as I could, so that I didn't have, I just had a tiny little bit of gathers in it, and it looks really cute on the doll. But it looks just as cute as this. It's just, it's just a different technique, and this is a whole lot safer. You won't burn anything up. But and this is completely washable. So, it's whatever you want to go with. I mean, they're both cute, but this is a much safer way of sewing than the fishing line. But anyway, I'm going to throw this out. And then I'm going to take this and I'm going to finish this, and I'm going to iron it out and get rid of the wrinkles. I'm going to sew it together, and I'm going to try a different kind of sleeve on this and show you what it's going to look like. So first thing I'm going to do is sew my side seam. So I'm just going to line that up. I'm going to find out, because this was where my nylon, my fish line shrunk up to. What you can do is, if you want, you can just push it back out and get it back to the edge, or you can just cut that off and sew from fish line to fish line. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to cut that off and put my seam here. And that will be how I'm going to put these together. But I'm going to take this to the ironing board before I sew it. So I'll come back.